Hold up. Pose.
Hi you guys, and welcome back to my video. As you can see, we're not in our normal setting and I'm not as happy as I would like to be. If you clicked on this video, thank you. Welcome. My name is K Nkem Chuk, and today I'm going to basically tell a little story. So, thanks for watching. The reason why I'm doing this video is because I want to do how I met my husband, and I want to do the inappropriate things that people told me when I married my husband. And I can't tell you that and be honest if I don't tell you one of the most inappropriate things that somebody told me, or bringing up this person without feeling some type of way, if that makes sense. So I'm going to explain, and I hope you all understand. I really didn't want to say this, but this person is a part of not only how I met my husband, but also the inappropriate things people said to me when I married my husband. I had a friend, and me and her were like sisters. I met her when I first moved to Georgia from Florida, and it was just like, because she lived in Florida. She lived closer to Miami where I grew up. And we were close friends. We were at each other's house. When I came here, I lost my mom and I had to go to Miami, and I stayed for 6 months. And when I came back, I met her, and it was just like home. I was depressed. She was there for me. I started dating somebody. She was telling me that person wasn't for me. And she was really like almost like a sister. And I gravitated towards her. I helped her. It's nothing she could have asked me that I wouldn't give to her. So, and almost a year later, she stopped talking to me out of nowhere. And I didn't know what was going on with her. I went to her house. She wasn't home. You know, I asked her kids about her. They said they don't know what's going on. So I guess our friendship ended. About 8 months after that, she came to me and we met up again, and everything was like nothing had happened. And when I asked her what had happened, why she stopped talking to me, she said that she was just, she had too much drama in her life. I had too much drama in mine. So we had to separate for a time, and everything was better now. I said, okay, no problem. So fast forward, the day I met my husband, I was actually waiting for her because I had went to a doctor's appointment, and she was picking me up at a food place. And I was sitting there talking to him. And I remember that day, and he was like, oh, we can go out. And we got on the phone and we started talking, and I was laughing. And at the time, I didn't know my husband was African. And she said she knew. And I was like, oh, okay. But we didn't talk about that until like months later from when I met my husband, when he started coming around. So every time I would tell her he was coming around, she would come to my house. We would all chill. We would all be together. When me and my husband went out for our first date, she asked me to text her our location. And I did because that was towards my safety. And every time we would go out, like the grocery store, she was with us. People didn't really know who my husband was dating. They thought he was a friend to both of us because all three of us would be together and there would be really no public affection for my husband. My husband, kept his distance, and sometimes she would walk between the two of us, or sometimes I would be on one side and she would be on one side, on the other side. So it wasn't like we showed any affection, like hold hands or anything like that. So people, our friends or people that know us, didn't really know who my husband was with. So I fast forward. Me and my husband got married, and we didn't tell anyone when we got married. And that probably will never be a story time. So I'm just going to leave it there. But I didn't even tell my family. So, of course, I didn't tell her. And I know a lot of people's like, well, why didn't you tell her? Because at the time, it was things that was going on that I really didn't want to tell anybody when we got married, why we got married, or anything. So I went away for Thanksgiving, and my husband, we were talking the whole time, and she called me and she said, well, what are you going to do about him? And I didn't tell, nobody knows this part. And I said, well, he said he's going to some family or some friends. And she was like, well, he could have came over my house. Why you just saying? I said, oh, okay. So I never brought it up to my husband because, for one, he kind of didn't feel comfortable about basically being around her all the time. And I didn't want to put him in a place where he, will go over there and be uncomfortable, basically. So I came back from Thanksgiving from visiting family, and something happened and both of us was down. So again, she started coming over. My husband was like standoffish, and she asked what was going on. I did not tell her. We were all in our little 3 trio together, so it didn't make sense. And then all of a sudden she had to move, and she moved somewhere further out. But we were still calling each other, talking. She was still showing up at my house because her kids still went to the school that that was close to where we lived. So I hadn't been talking to her like that because we were dealing with some issues. And my husband was not living with me at the time. He was still living in his old apartment with his roommate. So still nobody knew we were married. And her birthday came around, and I called her, and she said, oh yeah, my birthday around. I said I had ordered her something, and I told her I was going to take her to lunch. So the day I took her to lunch, we were going to Cumberland Mall because she wanted to go either P.F. Chang or what else? Oh, so I forgot the place, but either P.F. Chang or Cheesecake Factory. And I was going to treat her to lunch. And it was just the 3 of us, me, her, and her youngest. And my husband was calling me the whole time I was with her. And she's like, what's going on? What's going on? And I was like, oh, nothing is going on. Because she's the type of person that she felt like if you move a guy in your apartment and y'all not married, oh, that guy is a user, or you're stupid. She was like, have your own. Don't move no guy into your apartment. And at this time, we was already married for months. This was in early March. So nobody knew, and I didn't tell anybody. So in her mind, she thought we were still dating, or we were, because she didn't see, my husband didn't come over as much anymore. And she didn't know what was really going on with the both of us. And I wasn't home a lot because I would be with my husband at his place, if that makes sense. So I remember that day I got dressed, put on a little makeup. I'm going to show you guys the picture that I took that day, the last time I saw her alive. And it was just like God was telling me, when a door open, walk through it. And that's what I'm going to tell you guys. Whenever a door open, just walk through it. You don't know what's on the other side. Don't be afraid, because if God opened that door, you're going to be able to walk through it. So we were in the car and we were going to Cumberland Mall, and literally my husband was asking me what do he need, what all the paperwork he need, and so we can put him on the lease and all of this. And I was telling him, and I said, let me call the leasing office. So I called them, they gave me the information. And the whole time she's listening to the conversation. So we get to Cumberland Mall, and she says, what's going on? And I tell her, I said, he's moving into the apartment. I'm adding him to the lease. And she went off. She started saying all this stuff to me. She called me stupid. She called me dumb. She called me everything but the child of God. And I was like, what is going on? She's like, he'll never marry you if he moves in. You don't know what type of man he is. You've been knowing him for, at the time, we had met in the summer. So we met early June, mid-June. And she was like, you don't even know what type of man he is and all of this. And I'm like, wow, tell me how you really feel. And I didn't say anything. I was like, okay, so are you going to drop me off, or are you going to take me home? Because at this time, it was really not a good time to go out. And she said to me, she said, no, I'm going to drop you off because I want to talk to you. And by then she was bringing up on the ride back that I don't know him as an African, that, African men is so different, because she knows African men, because her granddad is African, and she has family members that African, and all this she was telling me. And she said that me and her being friends, he won't allow it if I got married to him. And I said, hold up. I'm sorry to tell you this, but we are married already. We've been married since the end of the year. And she literally pushed the brakes on the car and stopped in the middle of traffic. And she pulled over. And I remember, like, what the is going on? My mind hit, like, what's going on? And she said to me, like, screaming to me, that my husband would kill me. He would stab me. If I have kids by him, that I was going to die at his hands, and he would take my kids and raise them with another woman because she knows African. And she said, what type of woman I am to marry a man, and I haven't even known him for a year. And she said all of this to me that day, and it really hurt. It really hurt. And I was like, whoa, what's going on with her? And that was the last time I saw her alive. We hadn't spoken for, after that, I just didn't ever see her. People would say, oh, you just missed her in stores that we used to patronize together. Her friends was telling me other stuff. I didn't listen to that because some of the things that she said that day make sense if I listen to what they said. But I was like, no, I don't want to hear it. And my husband was like, so y'all not going to be friends no more? And I was like, I guess not. And I never told him or anyone what happened. So in September or October of 2019, her boss was killed by a hit and run, her ex-boss. And they were doing some type of memorial service for him at his location where he owned a beauty shop. And another friend of mine was telling me, she was like, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, because I know him. He, and my husband was like, well, if you're going to go, just let me know. And by then we was already living together. Everything was all right. We were just dealing, I guess, with each other. And we were happy. I'm not going to sit up here and say we wasn't happy. But I was like in a mood, back and forth, mood. So we go there, and as I'm talking to some of the people there and we're bringing up stories of her boss, I say, yeah, and he gave one of my closest friends a job. And then the lady, asked me who my closest friend was. And she said, and I tell her her name, and she said, oh yeah, I went to her funeral. I'm like, what? I think my heart stopped, literally. My heart stopped. I said, are you sure it's the same person? I'm like, no, it couldn't have been. It couldn't have been the same person. I said, are you sure? She was like, yeah, it was on the news and everything. I'm like, no, couldn't have been the same person. It had to be a different person. It had to. So she shows me on her phone and literally the same way she told me my husband would kill me, it's the same way she died. And at the time, she was even pregnant. You guys don't know how much this feeling, even now, is a lot. It's still a lot. And it's been years. And I was like, wow. My family, you know, and friends, even now, try to console me. And I'm not doing this video for clout or doing this video for any other reason but to put this out and not even put it to bed, because nobody knows that this still has an effect on me. I remember going to church and the prophet coming to me and surrounding me with my friends to pray this off of me. Because literally I was going crazy thinking, was I the cause of this? For her to say that to me and God ordained it on her life. I would never wish bad on her. And for this to happen, so this is why I wanted to put this story out before I tell any of the other things, because literally this was like literally holding me and choking me at times. I can't not tell you about meeting my husband without bringing her up, or the inappropriate things people told me without saying this. And all of my friends said, do this video first, get it out the way. Get it out the way so it don't be something I have to add to those videos. All I'm going to say is this has taught me, when God opened the door, walk through it. Really walk through it. Because it's been a long time that I've been holding this in. And I'm going to put this on YouTube and I'm like scared. I don't want people to misunderstand the situation. So, thank you for listening. I don't know if I'm going to leave on the comments for this video. I might not. I really experience a lot. And I'm constantly growing. And things like this, I don't like to be a down person all the time. And for those that might ask, I did seek therapy after this, because it was a lot. So I'm glad I didn't cry, although I did cry a little bit. I'm glad I'm not boohoo crying, but thank you, because with each and every person that's been here for me, you don't know how much this means to me. So, bye.